About a week ago, a naked girl with no clothes on her body was standing outside a house, continuously knocking on the door. After a while, a boy came out of the house and she asked for help, begging him to bring her some clothes in the name of God. The boy saw that the girl was completely naked and bleeding. Despite seeing this situation, the boy told the girl to leave and quickly shut the door. Today's face will not only make you angry at the accused, but also reveal the true face of our society. But the question remains, how did this girl end up here, and who did this to her? In a small village in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, India, a 12-year-old girl used to go to school. She lived in a small house in Ujjain with her grandfather, elder brother and father. Her mother had left them a few years ago. Since her mother was not around, her grandfather took care of her. This 12-year-old girl was in the 8th grade and had a great passion for studying. She was always cheerful and playful. She would go to school in the morning and return home between 4 and 4:30 in the afternoon, but then something happened that took away all the happiness from this joyful family. On September 24th, 2023, this girl's life took a tragic turn. She had an Olympiad exam and had to travel out of the city for it. This 12-year-old girl named Pari had never been out of her city before. She left with 7 other children in a rickshaw and reached the examination hall shortly after. However, there was a problem with her admit card and her teacher asked her to leave the classroom.
I'm sorry, Pari, but you can't take the exam without a valid admit card. You need to leave the classroom.
Distressed by not being able to take her exam, this little angel was unsure of what to do next. As she walked out of the school, she saw a rickshaw and got into it. When the rickshaw driver asked her where she wanted to go, she told him to keep going straight. A little while later, she realized she had no money, and the driver got very angry and left her right there. It was around 10 in the morning, and this girl was stranded alone in an unfamiliar village. Just then, she saw her grandfather and quickly ran to him, hugging him tightly. Her grandfather had been worried about how she would manage in another city, so he had followed her. Fortunately, he found her and brought her back home. After dropping her off, he went back to work.
Don't worry, Pari. I'll take you home. Everything will be all right.
When her grandfather returned home at 6 in the evening, she was not there. Panic set in as he searched the entire village but couldn't find her. Exhausted, he decided
To go to the police. The police response was shockingly indifferent. They told him to wait a day, and if she didn't return, they would start looking for her. He waited a whole day searching for her everywhere, but to no avail. He went back to the police, and finally the next day they filed a missing report on September 25th, 2023. This girl was reported to be almost 700 kilometers away from her home, wandering the streets of an unknown city, asking people for help. She had walked about 8 kilometers, pleading for help, but no one was willing to assist her. Her clothes were torn, her face was dirty, and she was bleeding from several parts of her body. This 12-year-old angel spent about 2.5 hours seeking help, but no one was ready to come to her aid, fearing legal trouble. She found herself nearly 15 kilometers away from the main city and saw an ashram, a priest who was on his way to the market, saw her approaching the ashram she was wearing. Nothing, the priest quickly wrapped her in his shawl and took her to the ashram. He gave her some water and asked her for her name, her home, and how she got there. The girl was too scared to speak, and when she tried, he couldn't understand her language. He brought her a pen and paper, hoping she could write down her address, but she was trembling too much to write anything. The priest asked if she was hungry, and she nodded. Imagine the state of this 12-year-old girl who had been asking for help for almost 2.5 hours, but no one came to her aid. The priest immediately called the police, and given her critical condition, she was taken to the hospital. The medical report revealed that the 12-year-old girl had been brutally assaulted and raped. How did she get there? They decided to check all the cameras from Ujjain to this city, covering about 700 kilometers. There were around 900 cameras in this area, and the police hoped to find some leads from at least 800 of them. They spotted a rickshaw driver who had dropped the girl off in a residential area in Ujjain. The police quickly apprehended this rickshaw driver and their investigation, they found some blood spots on the back seat of the rickshaw. The driver told the police that he had found the girl in that condition, walking by the roadside. With multiple injuries, he gave her a ride for about 400 meters and even provided her with a khaki shirt. The rickshaw driver mentioned that the girl was crying a lot and seemed to want to say something, but I dropped her off at a residential area to avoid getting involved in any trouble with the police. The police continued their investigation and found CCTV footage from a train station near Ujjain, showing the girl getting off a train around 3 a.m. She approached 3 rickshaw drivers and finally got into the last one. The footage also showed that the girl was seen around 10 a.m. with the rickshaw driver who dropped her in the residential area. When the police reviewed the footage, they noticed that the girl was fine when she got off the train, but something happened between then and the time she disappeared. That was hard to imagine. The police gathered information about the 3rd rickshaw driver. His name was Bharat Soni. All eyes were on this auto driver. The police arrested Soni from his home a few hours later. What he revealed was shocking and difficult to hear. On September 25th, 2023, the man confessed that he had picked up the girl from the railway station at 4 a.m. and taken her to a desolate place where he raped her and left her there. He then went straight home and pretended that nothing had happened, but now in police custody. So the police took him to the crime scene, and upon reaching there, they found the girl's clothes and shoes. This confirmed that this man was behind everything. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. This case exposed a chilling reality of our society. Even when they saw a 12-year-old girl in such a helpless state, no one came forward to help her. They left her to her fate, simply out of fear of getting entangled in court cases and legal proceedings. We hope today's case was insightful for you. If you found it interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If not, that's okay. 2. See you soon with another case. Until then, take care and stay safe.